Want some, get some.
Yes, I am a pirate.
You have to go with the pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're pirates.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I don't think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
We will get to Omaha. I can promise you that.
Red and purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
What is going on, Pirate Nation? Welcome into the Pirate Football Playback here on the Sports Objective. East Carolina, unfortunately, suffered a 34-20 senior day defeat to the Navy Midshipmen. Pirates led 3-0 at halftime, but what a tale of two halves it was. East Carolina squandered opportunities to have probably at least about a 17 to 24-point halftime lead. But then, as the offense continued to sputter, the wheels came off for the defense as the second half wore on. Unfortunately, the Pirates lose their first game since the interim tag was removed from Blake Harrell's name. But, we'll continue to break it down. But first, let's welcome in my co-host, Kyle from LaGrange Barber. Kyle, how are you?
What's going on, Bubba? Yeah, blown opportunities in the first half. Obviously, several big plays missed early in the game. The overthrow or the miss by the early touchdown, the big play that we missed to Smith, and then the touchdown where had a guy wide open and Hauser just throw it to somebody in the stands. Apparently, I don't know how he missed that throw so bad. Easily could have been 17-0 at half, and you really figure it would have been a completely different ball game if you're up that big at half. You probably win it. That third quarter was I think we only had one possession in the third quarter. Is that right?
I think that's right. I do think that's right.
That sounds right. Honestly, I'd have to go back and check, and we'll do that here in a moment. But tried to such a heartbreaking loss. I really felt as though going in, I thought we'd find a way to get it done, but unable to do so. And so, just missed opportunities like Kyle said, and we'll dive more into it. But the deep ball to Anthony Smith to start the game on the double move, and we threw it way too far inside. Still looked like it was catchable, but that was a theme throughout the day, inaccurate passes and drop passes. But, let's go ahead and bring in former East Carolina linebacker Matt Semenza. Matt, how are you?
Guys, what's going on? This was a really frustrating game, and I wanted to go back and really analyze it, because it's really interesting the things that people say after these games, and this was not a case of East Carolina being unprepared to play. This was not a case of East Carolina having a bad game plan. This was a situation where we didn't make plays. We didn't play well as a team. We couldn't convert on our deep balls when we had open receivers. We false started twice in the red zone, one inside the 5-yard line with a chance to go in and go up 7-0 early. Can't happen, but we talk about that every week. It never gets fixed. And then obviously the missed throw in the end zone off play action. So this was not a case of a team not prepared to play or a bad game plan. There were plays to be made. We just couldn't make them for whatever reason. And, it's really interesting to hear this fan base who, after this game, have turned on Blake Harrell after 1 week. Some of these people who have turned on him and say, oh, we didn't have a good game plan. See what happens when, we shouldn't have hired Blake. We lost in it. That's a bunch of garbage. The game plan was fine. we didn't make plays. And when you don't make plays, you're not going to win games. And that's the way when I look at this game, there's obviously a lot to evaluate, but that's my big picture thought on this one.
Yeah, I think a lot of those people, I don't know if they turned on Blake. I think they were the people that didn't want to hire Blake, and then they just hadn't been able to say anything until now. And so now they're speaking up. I'm sure there's a handful of people, but you do doubt it. I think it's okay to doubt, like question yourself. Even I did. I think that's normal human nature to question a little bit, but to go out and say it was a bad decision based on one game is pretty ignorant. A lot of the same mistakes we've been making, but we were able to overcome them because of the competition. The good thing about it is on offense with these continued mistakes, you see the system, you see the potential. You know you don't know why Hauser has such a bad game, but we couldn't overcome it. But you're right. No, I didn't see anything wrong with the game plan at all. Just didn't execute in the red zone and didn't take advantage of big plays when they were there.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I didn't see anything, wrong whatsoever with the game plan. I mean, and it did not, reek of a team that was ill prepared. I mean, you came out, you pitched a shutout in the first half defensively, and then offensively. I thought the plan was good. You just didn't execute. I mean, I love the decision to go for it on fourth down, being aggressive there. Excellent play call with the play action pass, and Tyler Savage was wide open. And unfortunately, it was such a poorly thrown ball and no touch, which was a theme throughout the day. Be it short throws or deep throws, and Savage, couldn't even get a finger on it. It was so far out in front of him and maybe a little high as well.
Yeah, what do you guys contribute that coming from, Bubba? You played quarterback. What do you guys contribute that coming from? That's not been a problem with him. Touch is one thing that he's really had for the most part. Could it be he just misses one or two early and then it gets in his head? Could it be distractions this week? Maybe he didn't have the best week of practice, despite being a good game plan. I don't know, something stupid like he played at Michigan State last year, but that's the first cold weather game he's had. Can that affect you as a quarterback to make you overthrow?
Yeah, and definitely can. And obviously, there also just some days are better than others. And like you're saying, it was kind of atypical from what we'd seen in the past, especially those deep throws where Caton's been on the money and throwing it out there where he'll let guys run underneath it.
Yeah, and you see, when you really look at where Caton's been comfortable over the last 4 weeks, he's been extremely comfortable on the deep ball. And, I think where he tends to struggle, and you guys let me know if you've seen this, but I think he tends to struggle in particular against zone coverage in the medium window throws, when it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, the medium throws, I think, in particular going across the middle, that seems to be an area where he definitely needs to improve. And the offense, I say the entire offense needs to improve there. But, we've been so successful the last, 4 weeks prior to this game, hitting those deep balls. And when they didn't hit, I think it really, and he missed a few of them early, I think it got in his head a little bit. And, Navy initially, early in that game, we were really running the ball effectively, getting down in the red zone several times. And as that game went on, what Navy did is they went to 2 high free safeties and they just kind of backed off. Everybody was the corners were 8 to 10 yards off. The safeties were about 12 yards off. And they were just forcing us to throw the ball, underneath those little I wouldn't even call them wide receiver screens, like those little flares to Rajay and Winston Wright, and their safeties were just flying up and we couldn't get anything going. So just a really frustrating. And hey, you got to give credit to Navy and Newberry because he has our number year after year. I mean, this guy does a hell of a job. He knows how to give our offense problems.
In the passing game, we started running more curl routes in the fourth, and that seemed to work and get Hauser more comfortable. That's something we should have probably went through earlier. But you're right. When we weren't able to complete those deep passes, then they didn't have to. They just kind of took it away. And then the running game, we couldn't get the running game going because the deep passes weren't going, and it just kind of all snowballed. And I don't know. Hopefully the bowl game will bounce back wherever that may be. You're hearing rumors, and we'll get into that more later. We'll talk about the Navy game more, but the latest projections from ESPN, not that the projections mean a damn thing, is Montgomery against James Madison, which that would be okay, except for the date of the Montgomery Bowl or the Camilla Bowl in Montgomery, December 14th. You would think that invite would almost have to come this week. Otherwise, you only have a week to get ready and buy tickets. Then the other one you hear a lot is as of today, the Boca Raton Bowl, which they're projecting that against Coastal, which no problem with the Boca Raton Bowl except the date, but really don't want to play Coastal again in a bowl game. But anyway, yeah, back to Navy.
Yeah, I certainly hope not. And I think a lot of people kind of saw this game the same way. And a comment from Craig Doucette here: if the game plan was executed in the first quarter, Navy would have had to change theirs. Unfortunately,
yep, absolutely, Craig.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. We had an opportunity to seize control of that game early, and we did. And the further it went on, and then you get to halftime, and it's 3-0. You're feeling like, man, now this is kind of playing right into what Navy does at that point. So, just missed opportunities early. When you look at it, it's really a game of missed opportunity.
Yeah, squandering those opportunities is obviously not good against anyone, but even more so in a game like this, low possession game, in a game in which, like you guys were just saying, if you get a 2, maybe even a 3 possession lead there, like we had a chance to do, then you really force Navy's hand and make them do something that they don't want to do. And Braxton Goodson, he had not thrown the ball well, and we saw some of the erratic passing. He has a strong arm, but one thing that he was able to do is he consistently took advantage of those, the hitches and spot routes on Saturday, and was able to dink and dunk and pick up some key first downs and move the chains.
Yeah, everything about Friday was frustrating, from, like you're saying, the little dink and dunk passing game, or we get him in third down and he pull it down and bust a big run. I mean, it was an annoying second half is really what it was. Also, again, you go back to Navy, even though Hauser hadn't been here, a lot of these guys that have been here, they're playing with guys that have been here. And I think it gets to be a point from team to team to team where you pass it down, where you can't beat Navy. You can't beat Navy, the fan base. We always lose to Navy at home. We can't beat Navy. And then I think some of that becomes mental too.
I completely agree with that, Kyle. You can right now, let's just face it, Navy owns East Carolina. I mean, they own us. And you can tell it's definitely in the heads of the team, and it has been for a long time. And, going back to Holton's final year when we were clearly the superior football team that day and just weren't able to, pull that game out, another one at home. But right now, Navy is definitely in the head of the ECU Pirates. And it's unfortunate. It really is, because this is a game we could have had. And, it's obviously, like I talked about last week, I am so sick and tired of losing to Navy the way that we have. And, and the fact that, like, you look at this game and this got completely away from us late. I mean, it got completely away from us, and it really wasn't a close game down the stretch, unfortunately.
No, we did score late to make it look a little better, but it was a close game till the middle of the fourth quarter. Then it was over. So it did get away from us in the fourth.
Yeah, I was thinking, 4 or 5 minutes left, maybe a little bit more than that, but right there, the mid to latter part of the fourth quarter, it was a 21-13 game, and we just couldn't get the necessary stop. That's when they had the 60-yard touchdown pass off play action or whatever it was. Maybe it wasn't quite that long, but long touchdown pass off play action from right around midfield.
Yeah, you're right, and you cut it to 21-13. As I remember, I'd forgot about that actually, Bubba, because I was telling Jessica when we scored that touchdown, I said we better not go for two here. Let's just kick the extra point and worry about going for two if we have a chance to tie it later. And unfortunately, gave up a big play and then come back down to score, but it was too late, down by 2 scores at that point. And yeah, it was a shame.
I was actually thinking we may go for two there, just from the standpoint of it's funny, some staffs, they go with what the analytics say, and then some, would prefer to go to.
Yeah, you're
If they
breaking
don't
up.
get it, then okay, you guys carry on.
Well,
Okay.
you were clearing up then or at the end, but if you want to finish your thought, you were clearing up at the end. But
all right now,
you have to talk a little more.
can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, I was just saying that sometimes the coaches in that situation where you cut it to 21-12, they may prefer to go ahead and go for two, and just where it was a little bit less of a pressure situations, and obviously there's a variety of reasons to go for then, or like you're saying, just go ahead and kick the PAT and extend the game to make sure it's still a one possession game, a higher probability.
Yeah, when under 8 minutes to go, my fault is always extend the game. If you got 9, 10 minutes to go, 12 minutes to go, then I don't have any problem going for two because you make it 3 possessions. But once you get under 8 minutes to go, I'm not counting on getting more than one more possession. If you have to go on a long sustained drive. So I always like to kick the extra point there and extend the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave did not get
Bobby,
fired.
We gave him his pink slip.
Dave is a season ticket holder for the Redskins, Bobby. So occasionally he's getting back late from DC. But Robert actually brings up a point here. I want to throw this one up because I was about to talk about this next. Did the defense finally wear out, or just inevitable with the number of possessions Navy had? I think
Both.
I think we definitely wore out, but I think Navy made a key adjustment in that game. When you watch it, we were very effective at taking away their running game inside and between the tackles. The fullback had zero impact on that game. And what Navy started doing in the third quarter was they started attacking the perimeter with jet sweeps. And that's when they scored their first long touchdown on a jet sweep where the runner cut back all the way across the field. So they started attacking the outside perimeter a little bit and hurt us bad with the jet sweeps. And then on the long touchdown pass that Bubba cited, that was a post wheel route where we were in man-to-man coverage. And our corner, number 11, for whatever reason, just left the post route. And it was completely uncovered. So I think when you look at it defensively, it's really disappointing because they played such a great first half, but the second half was a disaster. And look, you got to play for 4 quarters. And you look at time of possession, it really wasn't. I mean, Navy, yeah, they won the time of possession, but just a really disappointing effort, in my opinion, from the defense in the second half. Like, you got to be able to play a complete game, and we just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think they wore us out in the third quarter. I mean, they held on to the ball for forever, and I think what we were doing in the first half was working, so we didn't make many adjustments, and they did. But I don't know. I hate playing Navy. It sucks, man. It's. I'm like you, Matt. More and more, I'm just sick of playing them. And it's because we always lose to them. But you look for positives to take away from the game, and I guess the game plan. I guess we never stop fighting. That's a good thing. But sick of losing to Navy. It's redundant at this point, and you get a situation where you get their backup quarterback, and they find a way to beat you anyway.
At halftime, we had just 29 yards passing, And with the opportunities that we left on the table, we should have had at least 150 yards passing, if not more, in the first half.
Yeah, it's insane with the receivers we have and Hauser, the way he's played for the most part. That we had such a bad game in the passing game, and you know, you like I pointed out earlier, and they talked about it in the fifth quarter. When we kind of went to the curl game in the fourth, Caden seemed a lot more comfortable. So wish we'd have kind of made that adjustment earlier, but he's been so accurate on those deep balls which has then helped open up the run game, and it just he was off for whatever reason all day Saturday or Friday.
Do you guys see this? And I'm going to throw this question to you guys. I mean, one thing I noticed about this offense is that it's really perimeter heavy. A lot of throws outside the numbers, a lot of deep balls. I don't see a lot of, crossing routes, a lot of mesh routes, a lot of, working the middle of the field. And I think that hurts us. And you can tell, like, in the fourth quarter, we actually started to go to that a little bit more. We ran some in cuts, some deep in cuts. Kyle, you mentioned the curls. I mean, we tried to get back to the middle of the field a little bit, but at that point it was just too late. And Bubba, you were a quarterback in college. I'm going to ask you, I mean, when you watch this offense, are you observing that as well, where we don't have the shallow crossers and kind of like those mesh concepts to work the middle of the field?
Yeah, throughout the season, and maybe this was just ignorance on my part, not knowing enough about John David Baker's background and the systems from which he learned under. But obviously that doesn't mean that he couldn't add those things to his offense now. But I knew we'd see a lot of the vertical passing game, but also I thought we would see more of the underneath stuff that we saw from Lincoln Riley, but we really have not. Yeah, sure, we've seen some shallow crossers, but the mesh concepts and things that you referenced, we really haven't. And man, it was frustrating on Friday afternoon when there was at least two occasions, if not more, where we had 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, and we just threw a little bubble screen, and would pick up 2, 3, 4 yards and still left with 4th and about 5 or 6 plus, and just ended up having to punt it away. And from what I recall, we just got it out there pretty much right away. It wasn't a safety valve.
Yeah, well, it's something that John David Baker needs to work on to add to the offense for next season, and maybe for the bowl game. Know what you can really, I'm sure we have that. If you saw some in the fourth quarter, we should utilize it more. So maybe between now and the bowl game, we'll work on some of that, and if not, by next year.
And then when we did go to it on Friday, I remember at least 2, if not 3 in cuts, be it a dig or whatever in breaking route that were dropped.
Yeah, no doubt. Smith had a tough day. With some drops. I mean, he just didn't make the key receptions. But I think you cited something that's really important, guys. Like, this offense, what gives me optimism is that this was everybody's first year in this offense, right? You look at Hauser; he only played half the year. So he's still a relatively young player. I mean, he just finished his sophomore year. So there's a lot of room for growth there still. And I think you're going to see this offense continue to, develop and expand. Now, one thing I'll say to this, I think one area where Hauser really needs to develop his game is on those wide receiver screens and those little outside perimeter throws that we saw so many of the other day. He doesn't fire the ball. He doesn't get it out there quick enough. He kind of like lobs it out there and takes his time a little bit, which gives the safeties time to fly up and make a play. So he definitely has areas to improve, and that's not even a knock. That's just, his first year in the system, and he's still young.
Yeah, excellent. Very quickly, Kyle. Excellent point there, Matt, regarding getting the ball to the playmakers faster. And then also, I just remember, in addition to the play action pass to Tyler Savage, there were a couple other just quick game, speed outs. One to my sideline there on the Town Bank Tower side of the field, where the guy was wide open and we just threw it out of bounds.
Yeah, and another thing, about Friday, that goes into Katenhauser's plays and missing throws, and particularly the deep balls, and they got pressure on him pretty well. I think our offensive line was exposed a little bit Friday, and I think that's something else that Hauser hadn't had to deal with in recent weeks. It also messed with his game a little bit with the pressure Navy was able to get on him.
Great point, and then also, an excellent defensive mind like Brian Newberry and that staff. Of course, he was the defensive coordinator on Ken Niumatalolo's staff in 2022 when they shut Holt Nailers and company down. But I knew we'd have our work cut out for us, and that they would, coming off a open date, they'd be well prepared, and they've even though that year in 2022 they had given up some big plays prior to playing us, they did a good job of playing a decent amount of cover 4, if I recall correctly, kind of the same deal on Saturday, and keeping everything in front of them when we did complete the underneath routes, and we didn't do so consistently enough, but when we did complete them, they didn't let us get a lot of yards after catch. They did a good job getting to the ball and making tackles.
Yeah, no, their defense is really pretty good, and they're, even with the quarterback out, they're a good football team. If you take away the Rice loss, which was an anomaly, 5-hour lightning delay after the Army game, after the Notre Dame game, 5-hour lightning delay at Rice in an empty stadium, finishing that game after midnight. And they're, it's not rare. It's pretty rare that Navy plays night games, let alone that late at night after a 5-hour lightning delay. Anyway, I'm rambling. You take that game away, they lost to Notre Dame, and they lost to Tulane, who was ranked 17th when they played them. So very good Navy football team. You just really hoped, with the momentum we had, getting them at home, and particularly with their starting quarterback being out, we would have found a way. But take something away from their defense. Coach Newberry does a great job with their defense. And, great showing by them on Friday. And, Coach Newberry was, like you said, defensive coordinator at Navy under Ken Niumatalolo, got promoted from within when they let Ken Niumatalolo go, and has done a good job as head coach. And he was the predecessor at Kennesaw State. For those that don't know this by now, everybody does, but I know you guys do. But he was the predecessor at Kennesaw State to Blake Harrell, who took over as defensive coordinator after Newberry went in the Navy. So, interesting tidbit there for those that didn't know.
That is an interesting tidbit, Kyle, and definitely good information there. And here's a good question, I think, from Shell Powell. Shell, what's up, Shell? Thanks for joining tonight. Is Blake going to hire a DC, or is he still going to call the plays? I heard him mention, I can't recall where I heard it, but he had mentioned that it's so difficult to be a head coach and still call the plays defensively. So it does sound like we're going to bring in a DC, and I think that's a huge hire. I think that's a huge hire, guys. Like, do we run exactly the same type of defense, or do we bring in a DC that runs a little bit different style? I'd like to see some changes to the defense. Not a complete overhaul, perhaps, but I think that's a big hire for him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and it was Wednesday during his press conference he said that. Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. I'd like to see him bring in somebody from the outside, not promote from within. I'd like to see him bring in an experienced guy. Preferably, it'd be great to have somebody with head coaching experience. I don't know if he can make that happen or not, but yeah, an experienced defensive coordinator is something that I think he definitely needs to do. I'm sure he has lots of ties in the industry being a defensive coordinator. But yeah, it's a big hire for him. First things first, you make sure John David Baker's locked in place, and then go from there. But yeah, he'll definitely need to hire a DC, and I'd like to see somebody with some experience.
No doubt about it. Bubby, you chime in. I got a barking dog here in the background.
Yeah, Bubba may be away from his mic right now. He'll step in a minute, but again, on the defensive coordinator front, that'll be something I go. I'm sure we'll have some stuff about that in the coming days over on Hoist the Colors about potential leads and candidates for that defensive coordinator position, whether it be from within somebody like Roy Tesh, or he goes and gets somebody from the outside. I prefer somebody with experience defensive coordinator, or preferably somebody with head coaching experience, if possible, that Blake could kind of lean on as he adjusts to being a full-time head coach. You look at Trip Weaver as at Austin P. Obviously, he knows the system and was on staff here. He's got defensive coordinator experience, but I don't even know how his defense did at Austin P this year. That's just a name I'm throwing out there, not who I'm suggesting.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And like, I would definitely like to see a DC hire from outside the program. I think, with this head coaching change from, you hire the intern from within the program. I do think it's good to bring some fresh life, some new thoughts, some new blood into the program. So I would look at some Sun Belt DCs and maybe even some Conference USA DCs, guys who have had success doing more with less. We talk about that a lot, guys, like looking for these up and coming coaches that have the ability to do more with less. And that's definitely the direction I would go. And that's no disrespect to any of the coaches we have on staff. But I just think it's good to, bring in some fresh blood into the program.
No, I agree with you. I don't. It's so hard to make suggestions because you don't know what his ties are. I know it looks like Marshall's head coach Huff is leaving for sure. Their defense has been solid. So will he take his defensive coordinator with him? They're just names that I'm throwing out there that I know we could hire. Louisiana Tech is a team that has been horrible on offense but played good defense all year. They probably pay their defensive coordinator peanuts. These are just people that come to mind.
Gotcha. Bubba, are you back?
I am. Sorry, guys, I got a phone call.
We're just talking about the potential defensive coordinator candidates and what you would like to see Blake do in terms of hiring a defensive coordinator. Would you prefer him bring in someone from the outside or hire from within? And do you have anybody in mind or any ideas of who you might look at based on his background?
I really don't have any preference. I don't know enough to really have a preference there. Obviously, if it's from within, you would think it would quite possibly be Roy Tesh, just because of the familiarity there with the defense, and obviously he and Coach Harrell have worked together for a long time. But from the outside, I know y'all mentioned Trip Weaver at Austin P. That was an obvious name, but outside of Trip, I'm really not sure.
Yeah, it'd be good to look into that. Just getting some more comments up on the screen here, guys. Johnny Robertson always bringing the information and the stats. Appreciate you, Johnny. The Pirates continue to be offensively inept in the third quarter versus Navy. Boy, oh boy, that is so true. Haven't scored a point since 2016. Have been shut out in 8 of the last 9 games versus Navy in the third quarter. That's a tough pill to swallow. Wow, that is that's not going to get it done. And then one more here from Johnny. In the last 2 games versus Navy, the Pirates have been outgained 241-26 and only had 1 first down to Navy's 10 in the third quarter. So yeah, the third quarter woes. And what does that come down to? Is that are we getting worn down? Is their style wearing us down? Are they adjusting? Are they making the better adjustments at halftime? I don't have the answer to that. I suspect it's a little bit of both. All right. Kyle, Kyle, I wanted to ask you this. Since you were in the stadium and Bubba, you guys were in the stadium, what happened? What was going on with some of the Navy players and the antics in the stadium that I'm hearing so much about?
Go ahead, Kyle.
I think Kyle's on mute.
I'll go ahead since.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm here.
No problem. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sitting right behind the Navy bench. They were taunting the crowd quite a bit. And to be fair, the crowd was also taunting them. But they were really going overboard with taunting the crowd back, which you really don't expect to see from the service academy. Their coaches, their security staff seemed to be encouraging it, which was a little odd. But and I think one of the things that really pissed people off was the hit towards Rajay that kind of seemed dirty, and when he was down for a minute, and their sideline was kind of celebrating. So yeah, that's the stuff I noticed.
Okay. It wasn't as obvious on TV. I'm watching it here from the TV in Connecticut, and I couldn't really pick up on a lot of that stuff. But I'm hearing a lot about it, so it must have been pretty extreme.
I've seen worse. I think it was magnified because you don't expect it from Navy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, here in just a moment, I have a little 10 to 15 second clip that we'll throw up on the screen, a video that I got when Welcome to the Jungle and the no quarter flag was being raised, when the entire Navy team left the sideline, and then the Pirates did the same, and all the staff from East Carolina was doing their best to get out there and make sure nothing got out of control, like it did so many places around the country on Saturday, with rivalry weekend, and we'll talk more about that later. The games outside of ours, because there were certainly some entertaining games and some entertaining moments shortly following the game. But here's that clip from when the no quarter flag was being raised on Friday afternoon. So there you have just a little glimpse with each team, well out onto the field there, inside the hash marks.
Interesting. Yeah, I couldn't pick up on a lot of that stuff watching the game on TV, but here's a comment from Noah on this. Noah Callum, thanks for chiming in, Noah. Not going to lie, the Navy players were acting like jackasses, in my opinion, especially from an academy, but any ball club that acts like that has not great leadership of men, in my opinion. So, yeah, interesting take there. And, hey, you know what? It's unfortunate that it happened. I just wish we could have played better down the stretch to shut those guys up. But unfortunately, we just couldn't make the plays.
And something else, kind of along those lines, as far as the Pirates were concerned, it was disturbing to me. A lot of people just thought it was funny, and didn't see it as a big deal. And I guess maybe it's the coach in me, and then also to an extent the player as well. When you're down 3 touchdowns with under 2 minutes to go, and you're signaling first down when you catch a pass to pick up a first down, and then you catch I think right at a 50-yard touchdown pass, and yes, I understand you got hit a yard or two into the end zone, which honestly would not have happened had that player run to the end zone, but then he goes between his legs and then shoots a fadeaway jump shot right into the Navy guy's arms. When you're down 2 touchdowns, that's not the time for that, in my opinion. And that kind of, for lack of a better way, just kind of stuck in my craw.
Stupid. I guess you're just angry. You've been out played all day, and Navy's probably been talking trash. And that's one thing. I guess we hold the academy guys to such a high standard, and this is no disrespect to anybody that served, but let's be honest. You're trained to fight. That's what they're doing. And I know a lot of Marines. I've known a lot of Marines over the years, and I'm not comparing the guys that served us academy to the Marines. And this is no disrespect to any Marine or anybody that served, but most Marines are they're not gonna sit there and go, they're kind of ballsy type guys. So I don't know why we expect I get the respect towards the service academy. I know what I'm trying to say, but I'm scared I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm just not even going to finish saying it. But I think you guys know what I mean.
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying. It's not a disrespect to the academy, right? Like we've talked about this, but for years I've said that the academies get away with a ton of things on the field that other programs don't. And I think there's just something inside the refs, the officials, like in their mind that like the academies are perfect. There's no way that these guys can hold and hit late. And I just feel like there is just some sort of I don't want to call it favoritism, but I think the way that they're officiated is sometimes just a little off.
Favoritism's the right word. I think there was I saw a lot of things that weren't called against Navy. And then how about that BS late hit call? I think it was in the second quarter where dude was running out of bounds for Navy, and we had a player dive at his leg and hit his legs just as he stepped out of bounds. And they called a late hit. You do not throw the flag there. That was a horrible call.
Yeah, Matt and I talked about that. Maybe a possession or two earlier. You remember where we had punted the ball. Navy signals for a fair catch down about their 20 or 25-yard line on the boneyard end of the stadium. And then after signaling for the fair catch, we did, hit the return man. And when that happened, Brian Newberry went crazy. And I think it earned that call later on. And obviously you would hope that wouldn't be the case, but I really think it was.
Yeah, this guy that sits beside me, and normally he and I get along pretty well, but he was arguing with me profusely that was a good call on that late hit. I was like, "You're out of your mind." He said, "Well, by the rule, he hit him out of bounds." I was like, "Yeah, but you don't throw the flag there." And told him I had two former college football players texting me saying the same thing. And anyway, yeah, it's pointless to argue, and it kills me when a fan from your own school is again, that's that Navy crap. I mean, he was defending the late hit flag that was not a late hit for Navy.
Robert Dedrick chimes in here with an excellent point, and I agree, Robert. He said the entire Navy team ran out to the middle of the field, John, at the end of the third quarter, like if you didn't just tune in, like we showed you on that clip. And he said it was like it was planned. Undoubtedly, as soon as the no quarter flag being raised and Welcome to the Jungle started, I mean, they were obviously aware of that tradition, and just everybody darted out to the field there about the hash mark, like it was planned.
Yeah, good for them. They kicked our ass in the fourth quarter, so exactly. I give them all the power.
Yeah, so what we should have done out of that is came out there and been pissed off and beat the crap out of them.
Right. If we're going to have that tradition in Dowdy-Ficklen, we need to own up to it, because that was my biggest disappointment in this game, is that when things really got tough in the fourth quarter, there was a lot of chirping, a lot of jawing back and forth. We got our ass kicked. I mean, let's just call it what it is. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate. In terms of the officiating, like I'm not saying, like, don't get me wrong, it's not the reason why we lost the game. I'm not saying that, but this conference, the American Conference, I cannot figure out week to week the officiating. It's like 1 week they're going to let you play and they're not going to call anything. Like I think the FAU game, I saw that. They were just letting everything go, letting them play. The next week at Tulsa, they're calling everything under the sun. They're calling it. I cannot figure out week to week, and it's got to be confusing for the players and the coaches too. I mean, you don't know what you're getting in this conference with the officiating. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, sorry, I keep zooming out here and responding to a message, and when I do, I don't. I think I'm gonna get back in time, and I'm not quite doing so. So I apologize, Matt, but. Yeah, the officiating is very inconsistent in the American, and I think there's a lot of weeks they do let stuff go, but it's not going to be against Navy. At least at least on our end, they'll let lots of things go with Navy or Army too. I'm assuming we just haven't played Army but once. But no, it is very inconsistent. I agree with you 100%. The officiating in this league sucks. It sucks big time. Sometimes I look forward to the day of AI officiating that's coming down the road.
Yeah, a lot of comments coming in on this, and AAC. Here's Derek May. Appreciate you chiming in, Derek. AAC officials have been a problem with this conference from day one. Yep, I would agree with that. And Bobby Hayes, appreciate you, Bobby. AAC officials are inconsistent. Ryan King, appreciate you, Ryan, for chiming in. The AAC has it out for ECU. So yeah, we're getting a lot of comments coming in here on that, and I it's just inconsistent. That's all I can really say about it.
What do you guys change the subject a little bit here? What would you guys like for a bowl opponent? I mean, I know what projections are saying, but who really gives a crap? That really doesn't mean anything. You hear rumors that Myrtle Beach is very interested. Military is interested, but then the projections are showing the Camellia Bowl in Montgomery and the Boca Raton Bowl. I've also seen the Cure Bowl in Orlando against South Alabama. Let me ask you guys something specifically about the Camellia Bowl in Montgomery. It's December 14th, which is 2 weeks from now. You would have to get that invitation. Whoever's going to that bowl, you really need to get that invitation this week. You can't wait the next Sunday and have a week for bowl preparation and then a week to get your fans down there to get tickets sold. That's insane. I'm assuming they're going to have to work it out to have the bowl invitations for that bowl come out this week. And I don't ever remember a bowl game being played that early. That's the same Saturday as the Army-Navy game. I don't ever remember a bowl game being played on the same day as the Army-Navy game. Do you guys?
I don't believe so. What I can remember, it seems like the earliest dates of bowl games are typically 18th, 19th,
yes,
somewhere around in there.
Yeah, so wouldn't you guys think that invitation for whoever is going to play in the Camellia Bowl, they're going to kind of have to work it out with the conferences and the other bowl games involved in those conferences to give that invitation out this coming week? I mean, you would almost have to.
Yeah, you would certainly think so, Kyle.
So anyway, so the point is, that's one of the bowls we're projected for. So
the ops and admin will certainly be earned that.
Yeah, Bubba, you're cutting out again, but I'm assuming you're saying the ops and administration would certainly be earning their money to get everything ready in a week. Yeah, absolutely. So I would think if that is going to be the bowl destination, they would hear that this coming up week. I don't see that. I think we're way too appealing to other bowl games to end up in the Camellia Bowl in Montgomery.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I've looking at today, Kyle, I saw everything from playing TCU in the Armed Forces Bowl to playing South Alabama in the Cure Bowl to playing in the Fenway Bowl. Who the hell knows? There's so many rumors.
I could see Fenway.
I wouldn't mind Fenway. I'll tell you, I do think though. I just love the idea of the Military Bowl because I think that's a great trip, relatively close trip for our fans. And I think you're gonna get a good turnout from ECU fans, and you're gonna get a solid opponent too. So I'm personally hoping for the Military. But I could definitely see the Fenway, Kyle.
I'm up for Myrtle Beach just because easy travel. I know I can go. Military, I'll probably make it also. So that would be my second choice. After that, it's really a crapshoot. I don't, the one projection that I didn't really like was Boca Raton because it had Coastal in it. But as long as Coastal wasn't the opponent there, that would be fine. The only problem with that is the date again. It's on the 18th, which is on a Wednesday. So not the best day from a travel standpoint, but you kind of we'll go wherever we get invited to. But you talked about Fort Worth against TCU in their home stadium. I wouldn't think that would be what we would get. My guess is that'll be either UTSA, North Texas, Tulane, or Army. I know Army likes to play Texas a lot, so I wouldn't think they send us to Fort Worth. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, Jonathan Davis mentions that here. This is what I'm seeing: Armed Forces Bowl. Yep, ECU, TCU. That's definitely a rumor going around today, and
it doesn't make.
I don't love that. I love the opponent, great opponent, obviously, but getting to Fort Worth, I don't know how it is for you guys in North Carolina. For me, it's not a direct flight. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get there. So I'm hoping for something right here on the East Coast, just in terms of travel, to make that a little easier. But TCU obviously would be a great opponent.
Yeah, I just don't know why they wouldn't put North Texas in that bowl, or UTSA, Tulane, Army, somebody that makes more sense from a regional standpoint, or again, Army just likes to play in Texas for whatever reason. So, but if it happens, it happens.
I will
opportunity. Although bull crap that is home field for TCU, you're essentially playing a away game.
Right. Exactly.
I will say that App State's played in the Camellia Bowl on at least 2, if not 3 occasions, and my App State friends that have made that trip had good things to say about the way Montgomery ran it.
Again, the problem with the Camellia Bowl is if you don't get the invitation this week, it makes it impossible. So I don't know. We would have to be released by other bowl games. The other bowl games have to say no. You can pass on East Carolina. I just don't see that happening. So that's why I don't think that one's going to happen.
Gotcha. Kyle, another post from Jonathan. CBS Sports just posted this, it sounds like. December 28th at Fenway. Does that say, it's a little cut out, does that say VTech? Is that what that says? Is it VT?
Let me see. I'll zoom in. Yeah, VT. VT versus ECU. Right, that would be cool. Virginia Tech, North Carolina, either one of those would be cool for an ACC opponent. If we're going to Myrtle, that could be anybody from the Sun Belt, MAC, or CUSA. I kind of would Western Kentucky, since Tyson Helton was somebody we were so high on our list. I think that would be an interesting matchup in Myrtle. It really doesn't matter to me who we play. Part of me wants to take on an opponent that on paper is more winnable, and then part of me wants the opportunity to take on a Power 4 opponent. But really, what I want to do is be able to go to the bowl game. So Myrtle or military would be my top 2 choices.
Bubba loves Fenway Park. He's had some great experiences there. So I'm curious if it was in Fenway. Bubba knows what I'm talking about. He came off mute right away. Would you guys be able to swing Fenway?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
What's the date of that game?
28th, I believe.
I would certainly do everything I could to be there. And that would, like you're saying, Matt, be very surreal to watch East Carolina play football at Fenway Park. And obviously you wouldn't take as many as you would to Annapolis or Myrtle Beach, but I could see us traveling pretty well there.
The fans that would go, that would enjoy it, they would freeze their asses off. The players would probably enjoy it. It's a big city, lots to do, lots to see. The just the pure uniqueness of playing in Fenway is appealing. I'd love to go. My wife and I travel, but we typically don't fly. We will fly rarely. We typically like to drive anywhere we go, and I don't know that I can convince Jessica to drive to Boston. So that's why we would probably not be making that one.
Gotcha. I know that's a tough trip for you, Kyle. Just to put some more comments up, Justin Butts, it'll be military or a Florida Bowl. So there you go.
Justin, you have good intel on that, or is that your personal thoughts? You got good intel on that? We'll find out from Justin momentarily.
Matt Redman. Matt Redman is looking for Marshall in Myrtle. So
I don't know, man. Well, you know what though? Marshall's playing good football right now, but their head coach is probably leaving, and I can see them losing about half their roster if they do. So that could be a good situation.
Justin Butts, just to follow up, he said that that's just his personal thoughts, and
Okay.
he says, "Kyle, take the train." So
To Boston, yeah. Well, I mean, you could take Amtrak. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I'll send you lots of pictures if I do.
Now I like this idea. Bobby Hayes need to have a TSO tailgate. I agree with that. If I'm traveling over the holidays to a bowl game, I definitely want to party and throw back numerous beers and rum and cokes. So I'm all for that.
For the Birmingham Bowl, I was not able to attend. I was getting chemo that day, but they did a show the night before the bowl game from a sports bar in Birmingham. So yeah, we'll definitely do something if possible, particularly if it's a bowl game that we would all be at for sure. Something that I point out the name Bobby. Bobby Petrino, rumored to be the next head coach of your Charlotte 49ers. Boy, that makes me want to throw up for two reasons. He's a garbage human being, but two, he will do a great job. So hate to see that if it's true.
He is a garbage human being. You said that perfectly, Kyle. No question about it.
And it's nothing to do with him screwing that girl at Arkansas, because I'd have done the same thing.
Yeah. I had not seen that report.
Oh boy!
Just being honest.
Hey, that's. I hope that's why people like the show, because we are very honest. So,
yeah, you haven't seen that, Bubby? Yeah, I saw that tonight. He is rumored to be the top candidate right now at Charlotte. So
who was reporting it?
God, no, that's a good question, Bubba. I don't remember where I saw it at. That's a very.
I was just wondering if it's Pete Thamel or Brett McMurphy.
Yeah, I can't for the life of me remember.
Spot on.
I think I saw it on Facebook, but I know I saw it on Facebook, but I cannot remember who was reporting it. I need to go back and look. Hold on, I'll see if I can find it. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Just laughing at Noah Callum here. Damn, Kyle, tell it like it is. Yeah, Kyle's not one to hold his words back, and that's what we appreciate about Kyle. So no doubt about it. Bubba, while Kyle's looking that up,
it's obviously, if you're not concerned about ethics, it's a heck of a hire.
Yeah. Yep.
Or it would be a heck of a hire if it comes to fruition.
Yeah, from an X's and O's standpoint, I think so. He's a little older now, so I don't know if he still has the hunger, what he has left in the tank. But yeah, from an X, the man knows how to coach offensive football. So, I
still have nightmares the season after you finished your career. So that 98, you probably recall that the 63-45 loss, I think it was. Kevin Monroe actually had a 100-plus yard pick six in that game. But
yeah.
But Chris Redmond threw for over 600 yards.
Wild Hog Sports, Arkansas publication that covers the Razorbacks, is where I'm reading it right now, guys.
Okay.
He's the OC at Arkansas. I'm sure you guys knew that.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. Just a few other comments here. Robert Dedrick heard from some WV donors that they want Jimbo Fisher. I've heard that too.
Yeah.
I've heard
Rich Rod.
I've heard Rich Rod a little bit. I think Jimbo scares me a little bit, guys. My issue with Jimbo is that I think his arrogance gets the best of him at times. And I don't know. He really botched that Texas A&M job. So I don't know how quick I'd be to hire him, but I'm definitely hearing those rumors as well.
Yeah, you figure they're going to go try to apparently make Jimbo would be a splash hire. Rich Rod really wouldn't. They'd be bringing back a former coach. You'd be interested to see who else comes up for that job. Also, I don't think Neil Brown was a horrible coach. He underachieved there, but he's not a horrible coach. I'm assuming he'll sit out a year, but there's some places where I could see him being a good fit also. And we're talking about coaches getting hired. Temple hiring Sam Houston State's head coach, Matt. who has done a great job down there. Won an FCS national championship. Before that, it seems like a weird hire until you realize before he was at Sam Houston, he was at Delaware. So from that standpoint, it makes sense. Had a great season this year. If Sam Houston would have probably been playing for the Conference USA Championship had their quarterback not got hurt in October. And ever since then, they hadn't been nearly as good. But that guy's a great coach, and that's a really good hire by Temple.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Bubba, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll just say Delaware is so close to Philly. He probably has recruiting ties in New Jersey, PA, Maryland, all the surrounding areas, so it does make sense. Bubba, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I didn't think you guys had mentioned his name yet, so I was just going to chime in with his name, Casey Keeler. So much success, even prior to Delaware at Rowan, and then obviously Sam Houston State, and then previously Delaware. So it makes a lot of sense. He was a Delaware player and had those northeast, mid-Atlantic to northeast roots. So
I'm surprised his name didn't come up for our job, honestly. Now that I know, I didn't realize he had a mid-Atlantic background, being down there in Texas. So I'm surprised you didn't see his name come up for our job during the search before Blake got the interim tag removed.
One of the reasons you perhaps didn't,
age,
is because of him being 65. Obviously, that's not. I mean, you have Signetti in the 63. So, but if Temple, I like the hire, and if they can get a solid 5 to 7 years or something, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, that's a good hire, and I wonder with Signetti's success in Indiana, getting a Power 4 job so late in terms of age, I wonder if that will open the door. It appears to have for him to go to Temple, and Rich Rod out there in his 60s. I'm sure in West Virginia, it's not the only job you're going to hear his name come up for.
Comment here from Robert. Rich Rod would do great if he could bring in his girlfriend and wife on the sidelines at the same time. Yeah.
Has he got a girlfriend and wife?
Well,
all right.
Well, good for Rich Rod.
Can we get a picture of Robert? Can we get a picture?
I got a picture of Robert.
Not of Robert.
Oh. I do have a picture
with the girlfriend.
Rich Rod with the wife and girlfriend. I mean, I don't even know what that's about, but good for Rich Rod, I guess.
We have FAU that's open, FIU fired Mike McIntyre today. You have Tulsa that's open. Let's see what others.
Southern Miss is, but it's rumored they're going to hire Huff.
You've heard here all around.
You're cutting out a little, Bubba. Your service is cutting out.
Yeah, but there'll be a lot of more jobs.
Gotcha.
A lot of more. There will be a lot more jobs coming open. But he's going over jobs that are open. And another one, that we just mentioned, Southern Miss, Charles Huff, head coach at Marshall. He has under a 4-year contract, and it's up this year. They appear to have no interest in renewing it. Apparently, him and the AD do not get along, and there's a lot of rumors that he may be the next head coach of Southern Miss. So he may be leaving one Sun Belt school for another, and playing for the conference championship, and they still haven't renewed him. So that must be a terrible relationship.
Yeah, it must be. That's interesting. I think he's a pretty good coach, honestly.
Well, he's a really good recruiter. I think he's an average coach, but I think he's one of the best recruiters in college football. And, he does well at Marshall because of that. But he'll win wherever he goes to a point just because he's going to get talent because he's such a good recruiter. If he went somewhere with a good NIL budget, he could probably really do some damage.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, Kyle. I definitely agree with that. Craig just said, someone please get Bubba Starlink for Christmas.
Bubba's traveling, Craig. Otherwise, that would be fantastic. That comment, but yeah, Bubba's traveling. That's the reason for the cutting out tonight.
Elon Musk on line 1.
Yeah.
It's not because of Bubba's HughesNet internet service. People that knows what HughesNet is laughing their ass off right now.
I remember those commercials. Good question here from Johnny. I mean, you look at Ohio State. First of all, let me just say what an incredible day of football yesterday was.
Incredible.
We need that soundbite from Bob. But yesterday was like the most enjoyable day of football I've had in a long time. The whole situation between Ohio State and Michigan. I mean, nobody really gave Michigan a chance to win that game, especially in the horseshoe. Major underdog coming in. You know, Ohio State had all the momentum. So that was a big time shock. And then how about the scene after the game? I think that's the first time I've ever seen police officers have to pepper spray football players on the field. Did you see that, Kyle?
Yeah, after the fact. I turned the game as soon as it was over because there was other good games on. But, yeah, I saw it after the fact. It goes back to the, look, Matt, I'll just get you to come on this real simply. What would have happened when you were a player at East Carolina if we'd have just got done playing a rivalry game or a game against anybody? Somebody had beat us on our field at Dowdy-Ficklen, and they ran out to the middle of the field and planted their flag in the middle of it right on Petey's face.
You'd like to think we would respond exactly how Ohio State did. And, I have no problem with that whatsoever, like what they did. It's a rivalry. Somebody, like to your point, somebody plants their flag on your field, you're going to go tear the flag down and probably fight. So no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it either. The coaches need to put a stop to people doing that because it's going to create hostility and fights. I don't know if it was monkey see, monkey do. If the NC State players saw that Michigan did that and decided they were going to do the same thing at Chapel Hill, or if it was just totally coincidental, I find it hard to believe. But, same thing happened in Chapel Hill, and fights started to break out. It did not get as out of hand as what happened in Columbus, though.
Yeah, no doubt.
Michigan and Ohio State each fined $100,000 as a result.
Oh, peanuts for them.
That's a joke. Who would be a great head coaching candidate, Bubba, if Ryan Day does get the axe?
Do you think they'll fire Ryan Day? Jesus Christ.
Wouldn't surprise me, man. It's all about beating Michigan. I know it sounds crazy, but you know how those fans get.
I saw a stat, and I sent it to you guys earlier today. He's 1-4 against Michigan, and then outside of the Michigan game in the Big Ten, he's 47-1.
Yeah, it would be pretty stupid to fire him. But if they do it, I don't know. That's a good question. I tell you what I would do if I was what's his name at Alabama, the guy that just left from Washington. I would try to get that job and get the hell out of Tuscaloosa as fast as I can. That's what I know I would do if I were him. I'd try to get an Ohio State job because I don't think that's going to work in Tuscaloosa. He loses about one more game there, he's gone. But if they fire Ryan Day, that to me that would be idiotic.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one.
And it was not just Michigan, Ohio State, North Carolina, NC State.
Yeah,
there were fights in a lot of different games around the country yesterday. I know Arizona State, after their 49-7 win in Tucson, and they had a player plant the pitchfork. Unfortunately, that one did not progress as much as those first two we talked about. But here recently, there have been multiple fights between the Tar Heels and the Wolfpack, and this week
I'm banning the series. They can't play anymore.
Kind of the lead up to that game. Back in '93, a game at Carter Finley. Matt, is your freshman year when you guys were playing out in Seattle against the Washington Huskies. And that day, North Carolina and NC State brawled.
Is Matt coaching the bowl game? Do we have confirmation that he's coaching the bowl game, or is he done?
I heard confirmation, if my source was correct, that he would not be coaching the bowl game.
Interesting.
And that stacks up because I saw when I saw a 2 or 3 minute clip of his final press conference. The title of the press conference said just that. Brown's final press conference at UNC. So
how hysterical would it be if half their players opt out, then we play them in the military ball and beat the crap out of them again?
I would love to play UNC in the military bowl. I think that would be an awesome matchup.
Our fans would show up.
Oh yeah,
their fans. The last couple times they've played in Greenville haven't traveled, and they're not going to be very excited about going to Annapolis for that matchup. And you'd have a chance for that to really be an East Carolina home game of sorts.
Yeah, an interim head coach with probably half your players opted out against East Carolina and Maryland, the cold weather. Oh my God, yeah. We'd probably have 20, 25,000 fans there, and they'd probably have 5,000. So yeah, that'd be fantastic. Unfortunately, we probably can't be lucky enough to have it happen. But can you imagine Blake game one against UNC, gets a win against a Power 5 opponent, gets a win against an in-state opponent, his first bowl game and his first chance against the in-state opponent. He does something that Coach Houston couldn't do his whole time he was here. That'd be you would certainly carry some momentum that we lost from that Navy game into the offseason.
Oh yeah, if that happened, that Navy loss would be the last thing on your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be a heck of a way to go into the off season, and momentum going into the season opener against NC State.
And how ironic would it be if it happened in Annapolis, Maryland? Dun, 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 dun.
Good point. Very good point. Yeah, I think it would get our players' attention too, and I think it would lead to a productive month of practice. It's from a player perspective, you got to now practice every day in December. So if you can play an opponent that has you kind of locked in mentally and focused on getting better, I think that's definitely a good thing. And I do think we'd have a much more productive month of practice playing somebody like UNC versus, no disrespect to South Alabama, but I think we would maximize the month of practice more playing UNC.
James Cutler says, didn't we do something like that at Florida State one year? Yes, James, we did. 1983. Of course, you have Chief Osceola riding the horse Renegade out to midfield to throw the flaming spear into the 50-yard line logo there, and the Pirate players surrounded Renegade, and Chief Osceola never got the spear into the ground.
Yeah, that was before the game. That was more of a, we're here and we're challenging. To our credit, we almost beat them that day.
Yep, 47-46 loss, a game in which little Henry Williams, who had such an excellent CFL career, had, I'm trying to remember if it was 2 kickoff returns or maybe 1 kickoff and 1 punt return for a touchdown. And Pirates were driving late, had an excellent place kicker in Jeff Heath, but there was a fumble by quarterback Kevin Ingram, and he was really down. But as you would expect, the call went against you down there in Tallahassee. But heck of a ball game to open that 83 season. Alan Vick says a pretty good source told me that they told Mac after the 70-50 loss to James Madison that he would be gone at the end of the season. He agreed to it, and then as the season progressed, he began to push back on leaving. So the UNC admin kind of had to put their foot down.
Yeah, I don't blame him, and I don't really think he owes them anything. It ain't a Bobby Bowden situation where they should have given him 1 more year. Mac left them before to go to Texas, so anybody that I've heard some people say they should have given him 1 more year, let him go out on a goodbye tour. Why? Well, he wasn't loyal to them. He came back when he got after working for ESPN for a few years after he got fired at Texas. They don't owe him anything, and I hate North Carolina and Mac Brown, so damn them both. I did have something I was going to say related to that or semi-related to that, and it has slipped my mind. Maybe it'll come. Oh, I know what it was. Guys, I sent it to y'all. And if you didn't hear it live, any of our listeners that heard it live, and I sent it to the group chat. Did you guys hear? I believe it was Pirate Mike was his name. his call on the fifth quarter call-in show?
I still haven't heard it, but I take that back. I heard about 30 seconds of it, but I have not heard it in its entirety. Pirate Radio put it out there as a standalone, saying that this is just 2 or 2.5 minutes of the 7-minute call, and said it was a very entertaining one.
It was hysterical. Older gentleman, just getting facts wrong. He mentioned about how he couldn't believe North Carolina fired Mac Brown as their all-time winningest coach. You just got to listen to the college grade. His spirit is in the right place. The sentiment is right towards the Pirates of playing big-time opponents and going on the road getting wins. He fully supports Blake Harrell, but my God, it is hysterical. Some of the phone call talking about playing Wake Forest here. We've never played Wake Forest here. No, they only opened the stadium. You would think he would know that with his advanced age. Talked about going to Western Sizzling with his kids. I mean, I want to have him on the show. It was that entertaining that I want to have him on the show and just let him go.
We should do it. Let's set that up.
You guys have got to listen to it. If you hadn't heard it,
I did hear it. It was great.
Yeah. So Matt heard it. So free publicity for Pirate Radio. Go seek that out. The whole phone call.
Yeah. I definitely enjoyed that one. Question here. Trying to get to so many comments tonight. Appreciate everybody chiming in. How important is a bowl win, recruiting, off-season training? I can speak from my experience on this, guys. Like my first year at ECU, we lost to Illinois in the Liberty Bowl, and it kind of gnaws at you, the entire off-season. Leaves a bad taste in your mouth, heading into the winter and winter workouts and spring ball. At the same time, it can motivate you. I think you look at that team, that team was motivated by that loss to get back to next year and win that game, which they did versus Stanford. But I think, it can definitely motivate you, but no doubt. I mean, you want to finish off the season on a high. And in particular, a team like this East Carolina team right now, I'd really like to see them, considering the coaching change and, you have a new face at quarterback and this portal age. I think it would be great to continue to build momentum and head into spring ball coming off of a big bowl win. So that's my thoughts on that.
You don't want a 2-game losing streak. We just lost to Navy. All the positive momentum Blake Harrell has created, you don't want to lose it by losing 2 in a row. And that's going to really make fans that are doubting doubt even more. So that's why I don't mind whether, it's North Carolina or whether it's Eastern Michigan. Did they get to 6-6? I mean, if it's a lower tier MAC school, I just want to win number 8 and carry positive momentum going in the next season, regardless who it's against.
Gotcha.
Matt, we wrap this thing up pretty soon. We got more comments. You got
we have so many comments tonight.
Let's get some more comments.
A few more. Noah said possibly the greatest call. We're kind of jumping all over the place right now, but I'm trying to get to all these comments. Greatest call ever on the fifth quarter. I think Kyle had one of the greatest calls ever on the fifth quarter. What was the legendary call you had?
I've had a few, but the one that people remember is back when I was trying to get Montgomery and Comer, and everybody got rid of it at that time. Are you listening, Cecil?
That's the one.
Cecil, are you listening? And then we ended up having to get Cecil fired. Everybody needed to go.
Yep, that was it. It was definitely a great call. Looks like things are one. Kyle, just have one question for you. I'll throw this out there. Not sure if you caught the Clemson South Carolina game yesterday. Clemson was ranked 12th, and South Carolina was 15 going into that game. Any chance South Carolina gets into the college football playoff?
I think if Clemson wins the ACC title, South Carolina you'd almost have to put them in. I don't know. How many SEC teams are you going to let in? You're going to have whoever wins the SEC titles of Texas or Georgia. You may, and then does Georgia still get in after that? No, they beat Georgia Tech. So yeah, Georgia's in. Texas is in. Tennessee's in. So does South Carolina get in too? I don't know. I think if Clemson wins the ACC title game, it will certainly be on the table. I guess it's going to depend on what happens around them.
Yeah, they
And
lost
keep
the
in mind,
head-to-head.
ladies and gentlemen, hold on, Matt. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that Shane Beamer tried to get our head coaching job. When Frank Beamer retired at Virginia Tech, and Shane didn't get the head coaching job there back at the end of the 2015 season. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that Shane Beamer reached out to us multiple times about interviewing for the head coaching job, and Jeffrey Comfort wouldn't even give him an interview. Now he's come a long way since then, but just think about that for a minute.
That's a great point. That is a great point, and he's done a great job there. Man, that quarterback they have, man, he is a freight train when he gets in the open field. I do have a little interest in South Carolina because my daughter's a freshman there, and I'm hoping for her that they do make the playoff because that would be a great experience for her. So, but man, they have a good team. There was a hell of a win yesterday in Clemson. Kyle, final thing, and I'm ready to get out of here. But how about the game, Georgia Tech? But 8 overtimes. Did you catch the whole game?
I didn't catch the whole game. Didn't need to. Saw the majority of the fourth quarter. I saw bits and pieces of it throughout because I was flipping back and forth. But saw the fourth quarter and all the overtimes. Fantastic. I mean, unbelievable college football game. Really was hoping Georgia Tech would pull off the upset. Another example of an interim head coach who's done a great job now in year 2 or 3 as permanent head coach. Brent Key at Georgia Tech, I think year 2. So came close to upsetting Georgia, didn't get it done. Fantastic ball game, 8 overtimes, and that's what college football is all about. Forget the NIL, forget the transfer portal, just a rivalry game. And by the way, maybe part of the intensity this weekend, Matt, with these rivalry games is college football is so spread out now that you don't get many of these outside of the SEC close rivalry games as much anymore. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it. Just they're not played as much during the regular season now because instead of all these conferences being regional, now the ACC is playing in California and Big Ten goes from New York to Oregon, so you don't get as many close proximity games. So I wonder if that added some more intensity to rivalry weekend and kind of led to a lot of these fights this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I mean, that's a great point, and it definitely highlights how important these games are and how great they are from a fan's perspective, and just idiotic that the NCAA and and ESPN, they deserve a lot of for lack of a better term, credit for that because the realignment definitely had in my opinion, a very negative impact on college football. I hate it, and you saw exactly why. On Saturday.
Just think if we had not gone nuts with conference realignment, and if NIL hadn't become a thing, at least to this point, maybe we paid the players a little more, but not NIL and transfer portal. Had all that crap. Let's go back to 2018, and all that crap doesn't exist, but we have the 12-team playoff format. How great would college football be now?
That's a good point. That's a great point. Bubba's back. Kyle, are you good? I'm ready to get out of here.
I'm ready to wrap it up, baby. Next week we'll be doing our bowl preview. By this time next Sunday, if we don't know where we're going bowling, something's wrong. So if we find out before then, maybe we'll do it before then. But if not, we'll see y'all next Sunday. Bubba, go ahead.
Did you guys address this with David Hackney? He's as far as Wake playing in Greenville.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, it said, didn't Wake Forest play in Greenville in 97 and 2004? Yes, David, they did. They also came to Greenville in 2001 for the season opener, first game under Jim Grobe, and unfortunately ran for over 300 yards against us. But that 97 game, that was the game, Kyle, if anyone out there, still has footage of that game, on VHS or DVD, please let us know so we can get a copy of it. That is, and I'm sure Matt would love to have it as well because that was his senior year, and Pirates came back from 3 touchdowns that day to defeat the Deacs 25-24. And
I think I met David.
Tabari Snoop Wallace had a big pick late to seal it.
I think I met David Friday. David, I apologize if I didn't. And I apologize if I did for only halfway remembering. I met so many people Friday at the game. It was good to meet everybody. Had so many people come. I had more people coming to me Friday talking about the sports objective than I ever have for whatever reason. Maybe it was a video with Blake Harrell. I don't know. But I believe I met David Friday. David, correct me if I'm wrong. I met somebody named David, and his last name was similar to yours. So but yeah, the reason we were talking about Wake not coming to Greenville was the call from Pirate Mike that he said Wake never came to Greenville. And yeah, they've been here multiple times.
Yeah, Wake also came the first game at Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, or excuse me, which of course then was Ficklen Stadium back in 1963. That was a win for the Pirates, and then Wake Forest came 97, 01, and 04. That 01 game, as I mentioned, the first game of the Jim Grobe era, 21-19 victory for the Deeks. And then that 04 game, it was a competitive contest. That was when Chris Johnson emerged onto the scene as a true freshman. Had about an 80-yard touchdown run on a toss sweep. And we know what CJ 2K became, especially that 2007 season where he had one of the best seasons ever in East Carolina football history and capped it off with a record performance in the Hawaii Bowl against Boise State.
Yeah, no doubt.
And James said UCF, Cincy, and Houston are not going to a bowl. Of course, Gus Malzahn resigned at UCF. Figured he kind of a Chip Kelly-like situation. Chip Kelly last year resigning his job as head coach at UCLA to become OC at Ohio State. Gus Malzahn joining Mike Norvell's staff as the OC in Tallahassee. And Robert Matthews said, was that the Wake Forest game when we had the temporary stands in the end zone? Yes, it was.
Yes. Robert,
So,
do you have it on VHS or DVD? If you do, let me know.
Yes, Robert.
Bubba knows I have been looking for the. All right, I'll tell the story real quick, then we'll get out of here. But Matt wants a copy also. He played in that game. The game was Sarah Levi's on Fox Sports South. I did not have Fox Sports South, and I could not make it to the game that day. So I listened to it on the radio. I don't even remember watching the Steve Logan show the next day. All I remember is seeing highlights of it on the news. I would also take a copy of the Steve Logan show of it if anybody has that, if they don't have the game, or just simply upload it to YouTube and let me know.
The other thing that was really memorable about that game was, post game, Jim Caldwell, the head coach of Wake at the time, and
whistles.
Yeah, please keep the whistles quiet in the stands.
Yeah, I don't. That was BS. Nobody was blowing whistles, but it was a great come from behind win that day over the Deeks.
Kyle, really quick, I'll leave you with this. This is going to probably drive you nuts. My father recorded every single game from the 90s, and I had VHS tapes in a box in his attic. And when he moved from New Jersey to North Carolina, somehow that box got misplaced, and that Wake Forest game was in the box. It's probably one of the few copies left anywhere in the world. It's gone. I looked everywhere for it, man. Nobody has that game. It's like it never happened.
And what's so crazy about it, that doesn't surprise me, Matt, because over the years of the coaching changes we've had at East Carolina, we have not kept our own archives. This is a true story, and back during COVID, they aired some games back during because there wasn't any East Carolina athletics going on, and one of the games they wanted to air was the conference championship against Houston, and they actually ECU got the copy that they used. If anybody everybody remembers the North Carolina game, and they also aired a couple others. One of them was the conference championship game against Houston during COVID, and their copy was mine. I got it to Meador, and if you don't mind me telling that, and that was the copy ECU used that they put out there. I don't know if it's still up on YouTube or not, but so that just shows you how we didn't even have our own copy of our own conference championship game from 2009. How ridiculous is that?
Wow.
Yeah, that when you told me that was pretty hard to believe.
It's true. It's true.
But
the truth.
If you guys don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Should anything, break concerning a bowl, like if the Pirates were to receive a bowl bid to the Camellia Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama on December 14th, where, like we're suggesting that that would break before next Sunday, then we will certainly have a podcast sooner. The Pirates' big basketball game on Tuesday night against UNC Wilmington at Minges, and then traveling down to Columbia, take on the Gamecocks. So two very challenging games this week, and we'll know a lot more about this team, the 7-1 after a decisive 93-69 win over North Carolina A&T on Friday evening. But for Kyle Barber, Matt Semenza, I'm Bob Rosenbaum. You've been watching and listening to the Sports Objective podcast, and specifically the Pirate football playback. East Carolina unfortunately fell in the regular season finale on senior day to the Navy midshipmen 34-20. We'll talk to you soon, and as always, go Pirates.
You're watching the Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.